What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is February 21st, 2024, 4:06 in the afternoon. Market is closed. Today was a rough day for a lot of people. Pretty easy to see for the most part of the day. It was a chart not worth trading, just like the chart that we saw after 12 o'clock Eastern time yesterday. I spent the majority of my day trying to convince people to walk away before they made any mistakes. I then watched our red trades, meaning more people turned red than green, even before the chart got anywhere near what we were talking about being a call or a put scenario. Makes me sad, guys. You need to develop some kind of patience, because without it, you're just going to keep giving money away. Hand over fist unless you're lucky. All right, now later in the day, we started to get movement, especially after 2 o'clock with the FOMC minutes. Algos kick in, crazy things start happening. Then we had big earnings coming today. Hasn't happened yet, but Nvidia's reporting. I'm sure that played a big factor in today's volatility and how much options were costing and everything like that. Today was not a pleasant day. Now, I know many of you who decided to not trade today are going to come back. You're going to look at the chart and you're going to say, oh my God, look at all the money I left on the table because I left. Right. Keep assuming that you would have known what to do and that you would have acted appropriately or traded responsibly given these random moves throughout the day. Okay, now I'm going to bring up the chart and we're going to talk about it. So pre-market, as you'll notice, I only had 2 lines here, and the reason is because short of these things here and everything prior to 8 o'clock in the morning just looked like low volume crap. I didn't feel good enough about putting a line of resistance over here to act as a pre-market. Now, after that, we got into an area right before open that could have acted as a pre-market high line, but it's too late to add it then. I draw all these lines at 8:30 in the morning, okay? So coming into the open, I told everybody, guys, I don't feel real comfortable about calls, truthfully, because I would first need to make sure we clear this higher low, or I'm sorry, our lower high, I don't know what you want to call it, our previous high from pre-market. Okay, I would want to see us get above that at least, but with everything that happened prior to that, above that point, I didn't feel good enough to say I'd buy calls there. So we had no call scenario. For the put scenario, we talked about how aggressive it would be, but you might want to wait for at least a candle close below 494.97. Okay, we spent a good majority of our day in a 50-cent range, and then we broke out and had a dollar range. Okay, fine. But nothing just felt good. Apple was trading sideways. ADD was stuck near zero for the majority of the day. Qs were not doing a whole lot, but we did determine that the Qs were ultimately stronger and dragging SPY around today. So the only trade that you're going to see from me that we talked about in advance was right here. Now, I know you're thinking, well, Jimmy, why did you buy calls here and not here? Well, there's a couple of reasons, and they all depend on the Qs, because I'm going to tell you this, just like the people in our community watched happen today. I wasn't even looking at the SPY chart when we took this trade. I was looking at the Qs chart. Okay, so we got in at 11.11 or 11.12, depending on how you decided to trade it. But at 11.11, we were looking for Qs after a strong or decent move to the upside, just like they had here, close above resistance, looking for the move to run up to the next resistance. That's it. I was on this screen the entire trade. Okay, guys, we broke resistance on the Qs. I'm expecting this thing to run up to 425.10. That is the next resistance up. There's a fair amount of potential to make that move, which means SPY should have a fair amount of potential to continue to move up. I don't care where SPY is when Qs get to that level. I will be taking myself out of that trade at that time. Easy peasy. I got in because we closed above resistance. I got out because we hit the next resistance. Simple. Nothing more. It was a 17% trade. I was happy to have taken it. It was the only trade I took and the only one I recommended today or talked about in advance. That's it. Everything else just didn't feel right. That I had a hard time. And in fact, if I was watching the SPY chart for that, I probably wouldn't have taken that trade because I hate trading the high of day. Especially a high of day that's got no price action on the day to the left that would lead me to believe where this thing might stop. Now, if you were looking at the SPY chart saying I'm playing line to line and you're trying to go from this line to that line, completely ignoring the cues coming up to resistance, you got to eat that shit sandwich right there. And it don't feel good. Okay, then we put in lower highs. It's bad for calls. If you're still in them at this point, you guys want to consider taking yourself out of the trade. And down we come. Once again, putting another lower high and retracing back down to our put scenario. Now, the problem we had with the blue line, our pre-market low line for SPY, it ended up being a very, very strong line of support that also held very strong on the Qs, this orange line down here. We were having a very difficult time moving lower for a good portion of the day. But nothing good, guys. I mean, you look at these moves and you say, oh man, look at this massive drop. Why would you have been in puts right there? What are you telling yourself that you say, yeah, I would have bought puts here? What about that? You weren't at resistance on Qs yet. You didn't make it to a proven resistance on SPY. I mean, that is a futures line. But nothing else stopped there really on the day. Well, I guess it did. But why? Why would you have shorted this during what looked to be like a potential trend reversal, right? We were putting in lower highs, lower lows here, and then we started putting in higher lows, higher highs. Are you really going to say that you would have gotten into this trade and you would have expected it to fall right down to our stink line down there? If you do, keep treating yourself as if you could do no wrong. And then the problem becomes you'll never be able to walk away when you recognize a chart that has spent the majority of the day telling you don't trade me. You will sit here and wait for what you think is going to be a move like this, or a move like this, or a move like this. And you might. But who's to say you wouldn't have done enough dumb shit waiting for that move that you end up quitting before then anyway, with lost money? Know where your weaknesses are. If you know that you can't stand to look at a chart without putting your money at risk, then waiting all day for a move you don't know is going to happen is not the right thing for you. Okay? It's just not. But if you can't bring yourself to accept that about yourself, you'll never walk away and continue to stare your problems in their face, having to deal with them day in and day out. Set alerts instead. Set an alert saying, hey, if we get beyond this point on the chart, I want to be notified. I'll come take a look at what's going on. I'll reassess the situation and maybe then take a trade. But if you know that the longer you sit here and watch nothing happen, the more likely you are to get into a trade for that reason, you will start to invent reasons to take trades when you know you shouldn't be. We've all done it. We've all done it. In fact, it was right here, while we were chopping at this line here, I said, guys, I'm feeling a little gambly today. I feel like I want to buy puts here. And we waited 7, 8, 9 minutes. Ultimately, those puts would have paid massively. I wasn't in them. I was trying to be responsible. I was trying to do the right thing. Noticing that we were moving up, having a very difficult time to move down. Wasn't the right time to buy puts. Now, I look in hindsight and say, well, that was the perfect time to buy puts. It didn't feel like it at the time, and it wasn't the right thing to do at the time, okay? So yes, if I was lucky enough to have gambled, got into puts, held them, I would have been rewarded, and then I'd be sitting here trying to convince you why I did that, knowing damn well that the reason I did it was because I was bored and I was having a hard time accepting that I hadn't taken a trade yet. That's me knowing my weaknesses. So instead, I talk to the folks in our community. We get off the chart sometimes. We start talking about other things to keep people's minds off the chart. I'm not the only one with these problems. You all have them. Every trader has them. Every trader has emotions. And as much as we're told to trade without emotions, it's virtually impossible. That's why algorithms exist. They don't have emotions. They don't care. You care about money. I care about money. I care about losing money, just like you care about losing money. Okay? And then those things lead into hesitation because we care about those things. Right? But then we decide to take a trade based on the fact that even though we were hesitant, we take it anyway. And now what are you feeling? Shit. Did I make a mistake? Should I have bought that? Should I have waited? What should I have done? And then do you think you're going to exit that trade in the right position, good or bad? Nope. And then when you got into a trade you didn't plan for, you're in it. You don't know where to get out, good or bad. So you're going to hold it. You're going to cut your winners too short. You're going to take too big of losses because you didn't prepare. And because you weren't prepared, you will let emotions take control of the trade. Guys, this is the cycle. This is what makes trading so goddamn hard. It's not your inability to learn how to read a chart. That is the easy part. It's what you do with that knowledge emotionally that affects everything that we do in trades. We try to ignore the emotions. And truthfully, you've got to be able to put them to the side in order to actually succeed in this business. But to say that people do it with no emotion, very rare. Very, very rare. And if they do, I'd be willing to bet that that money means nothing to them. They either have so much money, it doesn't matter if they make more or lose some. Or they've got so little money or playing so small that it doesn't matter to them either. But anybody who stands to lose something that hurts, in fact, if you're playing a position size that is larger than what if it fell out of your pocket and you lost it, you're going to have emotion in that trade. So most of us can have $10 on a trade and give zero shits about it because we could ball up a $10 bill, throw it on the ground, forget about it, and go on about our lives. But when you start pushing into that $100 a trade range, you start saying, man, I don't want to lose that money. Well, guess what? Emotion is involved, and you're going to do what you got to do to prevent yourself from losing that money. Sometimes that shows up in the disguise of holding and hoping because we didn't get out when we were supposed to before that number became relevant and hurt too much to let go. Or when it gets to the upside, greed kicks in. Man, I've already doubled my money. Let me hold on to this thing. I know we're right up against the resistance that has held all day long and is rejected hard every time. But this time, because I can afford to let it try and go, I'm up 100% on the trade. I'm up 30% on the trade. Let's see if this time will be different. Guys, I got nothing to say about today's chart. You're going to look at this here and you're going to think you would have done everything right. If you bought into this move to the upside, it was a FOMO trade. Be honest with yourself. I joked around today while we were up here saying, I'm going to buy calls, being a smart ass, because it would have been my luck that if I did, we would have turned around and that would have been the top, proving the point that so many people buy the exact bottom or the exact top because they've waited so long to get into a trade. But what in this had any justification for taking it other than I can't, it's going straight up. It can't stop. Right? That's FOMO. That's FOMO. Now, I don't trade this late in the day, so it meant nothing to me. I do want to know why it moved up like that. Oh boy, is NVIDIA earnings coming? Let's take a look. Yep, they must be reporting. Up 2.5% at the moment. Let's see if it misses. Oh lordy. Anyway, guys, we're not going to sit here and watch NVIDIA earnings. But at any rate, guys, know thyself. Know thyself. Avoid putting yourself in a situation to face your weaknesses, because you and I both know, just like I know about myself, when I have to face those weaknesses, they almost always win. So instead of walking into the room trying to pick a fight with some bully that usually kicks my ass, I decide to stay away from that room and go to a different one. All right? With that said, I hope you guys found some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, there's a link down below. We'd love to have you. First week is completely free. And if you like what you get for that free week, we'd love to have you as a paying member. Also, check out our website at www.trading-decoded.com. And I hope you have a good rest of your night. Till tomorrow, I love you guys. See ya!